Boston Celtics find their new starting center in clever trade proposal with Nets. Breaking news out of Boston. After a summer of change and uncertainty, the Celtics may have found their new starting center in a potential trade with the Brooklyn Nets. With Jason Tatum sidelined and the roster reshaped, Brad Stevens and the Celtics front office are working to strike the right balance between staying competitive now and building for the future. Boston's situation. The Celtics enter the 2025-26 season in unfamiliar territory. For the last several years, Boston has been considered one of the NBA's elite, but things look very different now. Jason Tatum is recovering from an Achilles injury. Drew Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis are both gone, shipped out in trades as part of a roster reset. That leaves Jaylen Brown and Derek White as the team's primary stars. And while both are outstanding players, the Celtics face one glaring question: who is going to hold down the paint? As of now, Neemias Queta is projected to start at center. Queta brings energy and rebounding, but with averages of just 5 points and under 4 rebounds in limited minutes last season, he doesn't look like the long-term solution for a team with championship aspirations. The proposed trade. This is where the Brooklyn Nets come in. Reports suggest a clever trade proposal could solve Boston's biggest problem. Here are the details. Boston Celtics receive Nic Claxton. Brooklyn Nets receive Anthony Simons, Boston's 2026 first-round pick, and Boston's 2026 second-round pick. On the surface, it's a deal that gives both sides something they need. Boston gets a defensive anchor, and Brooklyn gains scoring and draft capital for their rebuild. Why the Celtics would do it. Let's start with Boston's side. Their defense has always been the backbone of their success, but Queta doesn't offer the rim protection or switchability the Celtics relied on when Robert Williams and Kristaps Porzingis were manning the middle. Opposing teams targeted Queta in pick and rolls last season, and his limitations stood out in high-leverage games. That's a big problem for a franchise with championship ambitions. Nic Claxton, on the other hand, checks all the boxes. Last year he averaged 10 points, 7 rebounds, and over a block per game in just 27 minutes. He's athletic, versatile, and can defend multiple coverages. On offense, he's an excellent lob target, a strong pick-and-roll partner, and is slowly expanding his mid-range game. For Joe Mazzulla's defensive scheme, Claxton would be a perfect fit. His presence inside would free up Boston's wings and guards, guys like Brown and White, to pressure the ball and take risks, knowing Claxton has their back. In short, the Celtics would turn their weakest position into a real strength, giving them stability this season and a long-term anchor to pair with Tatum once he returns. Why the Nets would do it now. Why would Brooklyn agree? The Nets are firmly in rebuild mode after the Durant Irving Harden era collapsed. They aren't chasing quick fixes anymore. For them, this deal is about the future. By moving Claxton, who may not align with their timeline, they bring in Anthony Simons, a 20-point-per-game scorer with the ability to create his own shot and run an offense. He'd immediately become one of the team's most reliable offensive options. And if Brooklyn decides to move on from Cam Thomas, Simons essentially steps right into that role. But maybe more importantly, the Nets get 2 draft picks from Boston, a first and a second in 2026. For a rebuilding team, every extra pick is valuable, whether they use them to draft young players or package them in larger deals down the line. It's not a flashy move, but it's exactly the kind of patient, forward-thinking deal the Nets need to keep restocking their roster with young talent. Who wins the trade? So, who comes out on top? Both teams get something they want, but Boston probably walks away the bigger winner. They'd be landing a long-term defensive anchor without sacrificing one of their stars. When Tatum is healthy again, a core of Tatum, Brown, White, and Claxton could give the Celtics a clear identity and a real shot at staying in the championship conversation. For Brooklyn, it's all about playing the long game. They'd be betting that Simons and extra picks help shape their next competitive roster. Final take. At the end of the day, this is the kind of trade that makes sense for both sides. For Boston, it's a chance to address their most glaring hole with a player who fits perfectly into their system. For Brooklyn, it's about adding scoring, gathering assets, and leaning further into their rebuild. But if we're being honest, the Celtics might walk away with just a little more to celebrate. They'd stabilize their present and secure a cornerstone for the future, all in one move. So keep an eye on this one. If it goes through, Nic Claxton in green could be the piece that keeps Boston relevant this season and makes them even scarier when Jason Tatum returns. That's your latest NBA update. Boston Celtics, Brooklyn Nets, and a trade proposal that could shake up both franchises. Stay tuned for more news, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss the next part of the story.